Hey Leute, willkommen zurück zur Stanley-Parabel.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Yes.
Perhaps
Okay,
he
gut.
simply missed a memo.
Wir haben das zuletzt auf Englisch gemacht, jetzt machen wir es auf Deutsch, weil das für mich irgendwie praktikabler ist, einfacher und ich mehr Spaß dran habe, wenn ich auf Deutsch labern kann und wenn ich ständig überlegen muss, ob meine Worte jetzt richtig sind oder nicht. Luft, zu schnell geredet. Okay.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
Wir hören
left.
jetzt ganz genau auf das, was er sagt. Ich will das zumindest einmal machen.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Nach oben.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Der Chef ist natürlich nicht da.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Lasst mich das gerade mal aufschreiben, liebe Leute. 2845. Super, aber wo gebe ich das ein?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Ja, aber wo gebe ich die dann ein?
Two, 845.
Hä? Warte mal kurz. Kann ich irgendwie runter? Aha. Nö.
Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself. And Stanley got the hell along with the story.
Sowas,
Well,
ja,
what did he do?
ganz großartig. Ich suche ewig nach dem Teil und ich find's nicht. Und runter. Loading. Ja, Ladescreens, die mag ich am allerliebsten. Letztes Mal habe ich ja nicht auf den Erzähler gehört.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ja, diese Frage werden wir beantworten.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ja.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself.
Ja,
Did he have the
mach's
strength
das
to
rauszufinden.
find out?
Ich denke, das rauszufinden. Stanley wird das hinkriegen. Mein Control Facility. Können wir irgendwo anders hin? Na, vielleicht hier die... Nein. Nein. Kaffeetasse. Na, Überwachungskameras.
Now the
Fired.
monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Und jetzt?
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Wisst ihr, Leute, das Witzige ist, ich habe einfach auf das Spiel gehört. Und jetzt kriege ich das Achievement Beat the Game. Sorry, aber... Na ja, klar, dass ich jetzt nochmal von vorne anfangen darf. Probieren wir es ja gleich nochmal.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Also ich würde mal sagen, wir machen jetzt mal wieder genau das Gegenteil.
When Stanley came to a set of two open... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Ah, yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
What? Really?
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? What? I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked... All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map, because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Huh? Ist offline. Huh?
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Ja.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting.
Will ich das.
You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you?
Geil.
Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Jetzt kommen garantiert rosa Ponys.
In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience. You heartless bastard.
Ja,
Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here?
Das ist bescheuert, ey.
Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Das ist dumm. Ja.
Well, Stanley, is this any better? At last, the one thing you've always desired. A game I had absolutely nothing to do with.
Ja,
But
lass
is
mich
it enough?
spielen.
Tell me that, Stanley.
Minecraft.
Will it ever be enough? Well, I'll say this. I'm done making things for you. From now on, I will only create to fulfill a greater artistic purpose. Watch this, Stanley. I'm going to build a house. This will go here. No, here. And then...
Ja, bau mal. Weiter, schneller, los.
Let's see, what does it need? Yes, of course. And just to finish it all off, yes, it's complete. I made this, Stanley. Look at it. Gaze upon my work of art and feel ashamed at your own inadequacy. Ah, but you've only seen it from the outside. You've only gotten half the experience. Please, step inside and make yourself comfortable.
Na, 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 na. Ich weiß nicht, ob wir da reingehen sollten. Ich würde jetzt am liebsten die Umgebung noch ein bisschen erkunden. Also. Nein, wir können leider nicht drücken, bis es... Es ist eine schöne Umgebung, findet ihr nicht auch? Die Bäume und das Gras und die ganzen Pflanzen. Und ich glaube, das Gefühl, ich muss da reingehen, weil sonst wird das nichts mehr zu Ende gehen.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it perfect? It could only be better if... Wait, that's it. We must rebuild it out of diamond. Ja. Diamond everything. Yes, yes, yes. Come along, Stanley.
Ah, super. Wir können... Ah, endlich. Sehr gut.
Oh my. It looks like it's going to get a bit dark. Have you brought a light? Oh, no. This is far more open-ended than I had in mind. I'm looking for something more narrow and linear. Something that makes you feel utterly irrelevant. This won't do at all. 1 out of 5. Even the diamonds couldn't save this one.
Oh nein.
Okay, new game.
Komm schon. Und er hat mir noch nicht mal ein Licht gebaut. Gibt's ja nicht. Aber schön, dass wir auch mal ein paar andere Games spielen können. Finde ich gut.
Yes! I don't even know what this game is, but I love it. You, trapped in a glass box with no way out, listening to me talk. Oh, it's inspired. I couldn't have done it any better myself. What is this game even supposed to be? I can't figure it out. Okay, now I'm curious. Let's go find out what the hell this is.
Das ist Portal, ganz eindeutig. Ich kann immer noch nicht springen.
Oh, it's a puzzle. Critical thinking, Stanley. You're...
Ganz einfach. Ja. Ich finde mich auch ziemlich genial.
No, actually, you know what? I think that's plenty. I really don't care much to see you stumble through anymore.
Tada! Ach du meine Güte. Oh, jetzt fliege ich nochmal runter. Ja, wo sind wir jetzt gelandet? Das sieht aus nach einer ziemlich alten Version von der Stanley Parable. Spannend. So, wir können jetzt durch diese Tür gehen. Wir können aber auch hier den Gang weitergehen. Ui, davon ist ein Licht. Ich mag Lichter. Oh, vielleicht geht's auch gleich wieder aus. Aber egal, wir vertrauen. Texturenfehler rechts. Passiert. Wow. Altes, verpixeltes Zeug. Großartig. Frage, wie komme ich hier weiter? Kann ich irgendwas machen? Schaut ehrlich gesagt nicht danach aus. Zurück. Hui.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon.
Ja, warte nur. Alles gut. Wir können leider auch nicht laufen, ne? Er hat ja einfach... da ist es. End is never. The end is never is loading. Tja. Du.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wie verhalten wir uns heute?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his
links.
left.
Ich komme in den Meeting Room.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping he might find an aunt coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd, and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
Oh, toll.
And everything went black.
Alles wird schwarz, natürlich.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Großartig. So, und was ist jetzt das Schluss? Das Ende? War's das? Oh, Leute. Na schön, noch eine Runde.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Diesmal könnten wir laufen rechts.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow. Yes. This room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
La 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 la.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Das war's. Das war's wirklich. Wir sehen uns in der nächsten Folge, wenn wir es vielleicht nochmal spielen. Ich glaube, es wird nochmal eine Runde werden. Mal schauen, was wir noch so für Geheimnisse entdecken. Naja, lustig war's. Also Leute, bis dann. Tschüss.